are back, and welcome to the first video in this series. We appreciate the fact that you all came back to see what was going to be said. So today will mark the first entry in the Manhood series. Now, going into 2021, there are some attitudes and behaviors that we need to identify. And in identifying these attitudes and behaviors, then we can keep these attitudes and behaviors from preventing us from reaching our full potential. And then we can identify attitudes and behaviors that promote positive progression. And so that's what this series is about, positive progression. So now the Manhood series was important to me because manhood was difficult for me to identify. You see, in my life, there were good examples and bad examples, but it was difficult to identify, to narrow down just what qualities I would need in order to have positive masculinity. And so throughout my life, I've looked at the results of each set of examples I've had for myself, and I have whittled down the possibilities to only those that are positive, only those that help me to move forward in my life. And so I'm thinking, I'm guessing, I'm hoping that this series will help other individuals who find themselves in that same position to be able to identify what manhood is and how they can take principles of manhood and apply them to themselves and benefit in their own life. So now, if you have seen the preview for the Manhood series or anything that I've posted on the Instagram account for the King Gene, you'll find that there is an acronym that I introduced. It's actually a mentality. It's a state of mind. It's called the ADD mentality. Well, of course, ADD is an acronym. And so that acronym represents three of the main qualities that are needed in order to achieve positive masculinity, or for the purposes of our series, manhood. So those three qualities that make up that acronym ADD are accountability, discipline, and determination. Now, all three of those qualities are invaluable to anyone who seeks to employ true manhood. And so for the purposes of our discussion, we will be focusing on the very first in those three letters, the letter A, accountability. Now, accountability, according to my notes, is the quality or state of being accountable, an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's own actions. So it's a willingness to accept responsibility. So already we can see that there's going to be some work. There's going to be some effort that's going to be involved in accountability. But then too, just to illustrate that thought, if you were to take just a portion of that word accountability, account, right? And we think about an individual who does accounting. What are they interested in? Especially, let's say, for instance, if they're doing a household budget, they're interested in what's owed as opposed to what is being received in, right? So accountability is being able to look at a situation through time and effort and clearly recognize what you will owe or have to pay out in this particular situation to get the desired result. So that desired result will be what will come back to you. Okay? Now let's think about that for a minute. Let's think about that. If you are looking at a situation, any situation for that matter, and you recognize that you do owe something, and you recognize that you will be paid for a situation that you encounter. If the payment for the situation is agreeable to you, then don't you think that there should be something that's given from you? And so that's what accountability is all about, really. Establishing what is required of you, what is required of me in order to get the final result. So now what's a practical example that we can look at, right? Of paying what's owed and then receiving the dividend. Well, I'll put it to you this way. And for this portion of the video, I want to focus on the young men that may be watching. Let's say, for instance, your parents have just set up a brand new savings account for you. And so they bring you the information with your name on it. And they say, this is your account and you can start saving today. Well, you're enthused and you're happy about the situation. You're seeing that your parents are giving you increased levels of responsibility. They're treating you like you're a grown-up. And so because of that, you decide, I'm going to save $1,000 before the summer. Well, of course, the next question would be, how could you go about doing that? Well, naturally you would say, well, I need to get a job. Now that's the easy answer, and that's true. But let's go a little bit further. You want to save $1,000 by the summer. So the summer begins on June the 20th, right? We're in January right now. So you would have roughly 5 months or 20 weeks to save that amount. So 20 weeks means that you would save $50 a week, right? $50 a week, or you would save $10 for each business day. So that means $10 for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So why was that example, that breakdown, why was that necessary? Because it illustrated really what accountability is all about. It's about establishing a clear goal, having that goal in mind, and that goal is what you want to receive, right? So what do you owe in this situation? But what you owe in this situation is a plan that will keep you on track to save a certain amount of money. So really, accountability is a combination of responsibility and reliability. Responsibility comes in when an individual takes upon himself or herself a certain goal. And reliability comes in when the person sees and formulates a clear path to that goal, which requires consistency on their part. So, you wanted to save $1,000? You saved how much a week? $50 a week. And you had 20 weeks to do it in. So if you had the consistency and the plan of action that you had was one that was bred out of reliability, then when the summer rolls around, undoubtedly you will be able to have that $1,000 that you plan to save. But now accountability is also played out internally. So whether you're an adult or whether you are quickly coming into your adulthood, I want you to be aware of something. I want you to know that your success and happiness, I want to get this right, is not given. It's earned through difficulty. So think about that for a moment. Your success and happiness is not given. It's earned through difficulty. So let's take a practical example of that, how that can apply. Let's say, for instance, you grew up in a single-parent home, and your mother was the individual responsible for raising you. Your mother was a diligent worker. Sometimes she even worked 2 or 3 jobs just to make sure that you had everything that you needed materially, and she did the best that she could to teach you to be a good person. But now, let's keep in mind that you're a young man. Okay, let's add that to the situation. You're a young man being raised by a single mother. Now, as hard as she endeavors to raise you, there are certain things that she just cannot teach you. She can't teach you the mannerisms and the behavior of a man because she's not a man. Now, this is not to discredit anyone that was raised by a single parent. But the point that I'm making is the mannerisms and the way that a man would comport himself, you are not familiar with because you were raised by a single parent mother. So now, let's fast forward. You are now an adult. Are you accountable for your lack of knowledge in regards to a man's a way that he presents himself, he comports himself, the way he speaks, the way he moves, the confidence that he employs in his masculinity? Are you accountable for that kind of knowledge? And I know this is going to get a lot of pushback, but I want you to know something. You are accountable. You are accountable. And why do we say that? Because as an adult, it is my responsibility and your responsibility to do away with anything that prevents me from progressing in a positive fashion. So if I have any traumas that may have been inflicted on me during childhood, adolescence, during my teenage years, all of those traumas, when I become an adult, it is my responsibility to deal with those traumas in such a way that they do not prevent me from having success and happiness in the future. Yes, you are accountable. I am accountable. So, what is a logical way that we can come up with some sort of a plan, if this is the case, to offset your deficiency? Well, think about exposing yourself to individuals who are currently living the lifestyle that you want to live. They're currently living in a way that you project yourself to live in the future. Expose yourself to them. And what I mean by that, I mean by having mentors in your life. Men who can show you what is the proper way to display your masculinity in a positive way, so that the things that you have planned for your life can be a success. And then something that's very taboo, especially in our ethnic group, if traumas are too difficult to deal with on your own, then it would be necessary for you to see a therapist. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because look at what we're talking about. Look at what we're discussing. We're discussing traumas, demons that may be preventing you from moving forward, preventing you from reaching that goal that you can reach. To have a successful and a happy life is a goal that every man should aspire to. And it's a goal that every man should be able to attain. But he has to put in the necessary work in order to reach those goals. This is a part of that work. Being able to look within yourself and to fight off the things that prevent you from being the best version of yourself. That's accountability. That's a part of it. Because I want to let you know, especially the young guys that are watching me, the world does not owe you understanding. You won't get it from the world. They won't understand that at an early age, maybe you saw domestic violence. They won't understand that at an early age that maybe you saw someone shot in front of you. Those things have no bearing on the world outside of where the situation may have taken place. It's up to you, and it's up to me to confront those traumas, those inner demons, to master them so that we can reach our goals. We can attain success and happiness. Now, when I say success, success comes in many things. Financial success, spiritual success, it varies from person to person, but no matter who you ask, success has to do with security. And security cannot be achieved if you're still dealing with things within yourself that cause turmoil. Because more than not, if it's within you and it's causing a disturbance, it's going to manifest in something that you do. There's going to be some activity that you partake in that will be counterproductive. And so it's necessary for us to address those demons, conquer them, so that we can move forward successfully. So now, in review, we talked about accountability at length. So what is it? Well, it's the ability to recognize what you owe in order to reach the goals or to receive the dividends from your hard work. You establish what you owe. So let's say, for instance, like we had the example of the young child, the young man who wanted to save $1,000. The dividend would be that he would have $1,000 in his savings account, right? But what he owed was a logical plan of action that would allow him to safely reach his goal. So that's part of accountability. What else? We came to find out too that accountability is a mixture of responsibility and reliability. Responsibility, being able to take upon yourself a particular goal, to take upon yourself a particular aspect of your personality that needs to be fine-tuned. And reliability is coming up with a plan of attack that allows you to reach your goal. So responsibility and reliability, they go hand in hand with accountability. And then the final point that needs to be understood about accountability in any situation is that any goal that you set, anything that you make yourself accountable for, success in regards to that particular goal is earned through difficulty. Sometimes that difficulty comes in facing the inner turmoil within yourself and fighting through that turmoil so that you might be able to have full control of your faculties and you can focus on what's the most important thing. So that's accountability. As we mentioned, that is the first video in the Manhood series. I hope that this was informative. I hope that above all that it was practical, because how is this information useful to anyone if you can't put it to use in a practical way? So we thank you for your attention. And hey, if you like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Next week, we will engage in the second video of the series, and that video will be about discipline. I think you will enjoy it. Until then, be easy.